There's a particular kind of hell that nobody talks about. It's the hell of having everything work out exactly as planned and still feeling like you're suffocating. I know someone's watching this right now who woke up in a warm bed, next to someone who loves them, with healthy kids down the hall and a job that pays the bills, and yet somehow, you opened your eyes this morning and the first thing you felt was dread. Not because something terrible happened, but because nothing terrible happened and you still can't breathe. The philosopher Kierkegaard called this the sickness unto death, and he wasn't talking about dying. He was talking about the agony of living a perfectly good life while being completely disconnected from your own existence. Today I'm going to tell you about a man who discovered he'd been living in a prison with no walls. And the scariest part? He was both the prisoner and the guard. But here's what nobody warns you about. Once you see the bars, you can never unsee them. And that changes everything. This story came from a conversation I had with a subscriber who told me about his brother, a man who, by every objective measure, should be content. If you've ever felt guilty for being unhappy when you have no right to be, if you've ever looked at your life and thought, this should be enough, but it never feels like enough, leave a comment below. Tell me, do you feel like you're watching your own life from behind glass? Because I promise you, you're not alone. Now let's talk about the man who had everything except the ability to experience any of it. The man who lived in future tense. Marcus was 42. Software engineer, Boston suburbs. Wife of 15 years, Sarah. 2 daughters, 10 and 13. 6-figure salary. Good health. The man had checked every box on the successful life checklist. Every morning, Marcus woke up at 5:47 a.m., not because of an alarm, but because his nervous system had been trained to anticipate catastrophe before dawn. His first conscious thought was never, "I'm grateful to be alive." It was, "What am I forgetting?" followed immediately by a cascading inventory of potential disasters. Did I respond to that email? Is Lily's permission slip signed? When's the car inspection due? Sarah seemed distant last night. Is she unhappy? The market's unstable. What if there are layoffs? His wife noticed. "Marcus, you're grinding your teeth again. You haven't even gotten out of bed yet." At breakfast, his daughters would laugh about something at school, and Marcus would be mentally rehearsing a difficult conversation at work. During that work conversation, he'd be worrying about whether he was present enough at home. On weekends, when he was supposedly relaxing, he'd be reviewing everything he didn't accomplish and planning how to optimize the next week. He was never here. He was always 3 steps ahead, living in a future that existed only in his imagination, a future that was invariably worse than reality. Sarah finally said it during their anniversary dinner. "I feel like I'm married to a ghost. You're physically here, but you're never actually here." Marcus wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because she was absolutely right. He had a beautiful life, and he was completely absent from it. The ancient Stoics had a phrase for this, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. But they meant it as a practice, a deliberate exercise. Marcus had turned it into a permanent state of existence. He was pre-grieving every good thing he had, treating his entire life like a countdown to inevitable disaster. Marcus wasn't living. He was bracing. Every single day. The philosophy of living elsewhere. Here's what you need to understand. The existentialist philosopher Martin Heidegger talked about what he called Dasein, being there. But Heidegger noticed something crucial. Most people aren't actually there in their existence. They're lost in what he called Das Man, the they. The they is that impersonal force that tells you how you're supposed to live. Get the degree, get the job, get married, buy the house, have the kids. And here's the trap. You can check every single box and still feel completely empty inside, because you've been living according to someone else's blueprint. Heidegger called this Uneigentlichkeit, inauthenticity. But the better translation is ontological homelessness. It's the feeling of being a stranger in your own existence, of having a life but not knowing how to inhabit it. Marcus had built a life that looked perfect from the outside, but he'd never actually moved in. He was still standing at the threshold, waiting for permission to feel at home in his own existence. The Buddhist concept that explains this is sankhara dukkha, not the suffering of tragedy, but the suffering that arises from having a mind that never stops constructing, never stops projecting, never stops turning even the most perfect moment into an object of anxiety. You're not suffering because of what's happening. You're suffering because your mind treats every experience as provisional, every good thing as temporary, every moment of peace as the calm before the storm. And here's the cruelest part. The more you have, the more you have to lose. So the better your life gets, the more anxious you become. Marcus had everything he'd ever wanted, and that terrified him. The night everything broke, it happened on a Tuesday. Marcus was putting his youngest daughter, Lily, to bed. She was 10, chattering about making the soccer team, about getting an A on her science project. Marcus was nodding, making the appropriate sounds. "That's great, sweetie." But in his mind, he was already gaming out the weekend. Saturday soccer meant canceling his morning run, which meant being off routine. Plus, he still hadn't reviewed the Q3 projections. "Dad?" I said, "Do you think I'm good enough to start?" For the team. Marcus hadn't heard the question the first time. "Oh, yeah. You just keep practicing." Lily went quiet. She looked at him with these huge brown eyes, and she said something that cracked his chest open. "You never listen anymore. You're always thinking about other stuff. Mom says you're always somewhere else in your head." She said it without malice, just observation. The casual brutality of child honesty. Marcus tried to recover. "I'm sorry, baby. Tell me again." But Lily just shrugged. "It's okay. Never mind. Good night, Dad." She rolled over. Conversation over. Marcus sat there on the edge of her bed, and something fundamental shifted. He'd just had a moment with his daughter, a real moment, where she wanted to connect, and he'd been completely absent. He'd been 3 days ahead, worrying about things that didn't matter, while missing the thing that mattered most. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Not because of anxiety, because of grief. He'd spent years building a life, and he suddenly realized he'd never actually lived in it. He'd mistaken vigilance for love, control for care, worry for responsibility. The therapist who talked about death Marcus found Dr. Raymond Chun through a referral. First session, Marcus came prepared with a list of symptoms, patterns, problems. Classic engineer approach. Dr. Chun listened, then asked, "Marcus, when was the last time you truly felt alive?" I don't know. I mean, I'm alive now. Are you? Or are you just not dead? What's the difference? That, Dr. Chin said, is exactly what we're going to explore. He explained Heidegger's concept of Sehnsucht Tod, being toward death. Most people live as if they're immortal. They live in average everydayness, never confronting the fact that they're finite beings with limited time. And because they never confront their finitude, they never make conscious choices about how to use that time. So I should think about death more? Actually, yes. Right now, you're anxious about everything except the one thing that's actually inevitable. You worry about things that might never happen, but you don't fully grasp that your time here is genuinely limited. So you waste it preparing for imaginary futures. Dr. Chin asked him to imagine having exactly 1 year left to live. What changes? Marcus sat with it. Something cracked open. I wouldn't care about half the shit I'm worried about right now. I'd spend more time with my daughters. I'd actually be with Sarah. I'd live. Exactly. You're going to die, Marcus. That's not morbid. That's just true. And the question is, are you going to spend the time you have preparing for disasters that may never come? Or are you going to actually live? Dr. Chin introduced him to prosok, an ancient Stoic practice meaning attention, not vigilance against external threats, vigilance against his own habitual thought patterns. Every Stoic philosopher practiced this. It's about catching yourself leaving the present moment and consciously choosing to return. Over and over. The practice, every transition between activities, leaving the house, starting a meal, picking up his daughter, pause for 3 seconds. Take one breath. Ask, *, where am I right now? What am I actually doing? Asterisk Marcus was skeptical. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Repeated 100 times a day rewires your brain. Attention is a practice. Right now, your attention is trained to always be somewhere else. We're going to retrain it. The practice of returning first week, Marcus tried and failed constantly. He'd get in the car. Remember, asterisk pause. Where am I? Asterisk I'm in my car. For 3 seconds, he wasn't already at work. He was just there, feeling the steering wheel, seeing the morning light. Then he'd drive and immediately start thinking about his 9 a.m. meeting. Gone again. But here's what changed. He began noticing when he left. Before, he'd been absent for hours. Now he'd be absent for 30 seconds and think. Asterisk wait. I left again. Asterisk and he'd come back. Second week, Dr. Chin taught him proper premeditatio malorum. 5 minutes every morning. Deliberately imagine worst-case scenarios and ask, how would I want to respond? Then close the practice. The rest of the day, when those fears intrude, I already thought about you. You don't get to run my day. Marcus tried it. Every morning. Asterisk what if I lose my job? I'd respond with dignity. With resourcefulness. Asterisk what if Sarah leaves? I'd respect her choice. Care for my daughters. Asterisk when those fears showed up later, and they always did, his mind would recognize them. I already addressed you. Third week, something shifted. Marcus was at Emma's soccer game. He did the practice. Asterisk pause. Where am I? Asterisk I'm at Emma's game. Watching her play. Asterisk, and then he just watched. For 15 minutes, he was fully there. And he felt joy. Not the idea of joy. Actual, embodied, present moment joy. After the game, Emma ran up. Did you see my assist? I did. That was beautiful. Emma stopped. You were actually watching. Yeah, I was. She hugged him. A real hug. The concept that reveals everything. Fourth week. Dr. Chun introduced mono no aware, a Japanese concept meaning the pathos of things or awareness that impermanence is what makes things beautiful. Think about cherry blossoms. Japan has a whole cultural practice around viewing them. They last about a week. The Japanese don't see this as tragic. They see it as the reason the blossoms are precious. If they lasted forever, you take them for granted. Marcus felt something shift. Your daughters are going to grow up. This phase, where they're young, where they want you at their games, it's brief. It's impermanent. And that's exactly what makes it precious. Dr. Chun gave him a practice. Once a day, notice one impermanent thing and feel gratitude for it because it's impermanent. Your daughter's voice, it'll change. Your wife's laugh. These things are temporary. Instead of grieving their future loss, be grateful you get to experience them right now. The relapse. Week 6. Work imploded. Major client crisis. Emergency meetings. Midnight emails. All his old patterns came roaring back. He stopped meditating. Stopped pausing. Went back to living 3 steps ahead. At dinner, he was physically present but mentally elsewhere. When Sarah asked if he was okay, he snapped. I'm fine. I just have a lot to deal with. The wall came back. Saturday morning, Sarah confronted him. You're doing it again. Disappearing. We need you to be here. Marcus felt defensiveness rise, then collapse. She was right. Emergency session with Dr. Chun. I failed. No. You learned something. When stress appears, your default is to abandon presence and retreat into control. Now you know. The Stoics said setbacks are information. You don't wait until you feel calm to practice. You practice especially when you're stressed. New practice. When you're most stressed, that's when you do the 3-second pause. Not instead of working, asterisk while asterisk working. Before you open your laptop, 3 seconds. Between emails, 3 seconds. You're staying present within the stress. The moment he became his own teacher. Week 8. Marcus was back to practicing. But this time, he wasn't waiting for stress to disappear. He was bringing presence into it. One evening, Lily was struggling with math homework. Frustrated, near tears. Old Marcus would have jumped into anxious fix-it mode. But this Marcus sat down beside her. Didn't immediately solve the problem. Just Saturday, this is really frustrating, huh? I hate math. I'm never going to get it. Maybe, maybe not. But right now, you're struggling. And that's okay. I used to think my job was to make sure you never struggled. But I think my real job is to just be here while you figure things out. Lily looked at him, surprised. They worked through it together. 20 minutes. Messy, but she got it. Thanks, Dad. Later, Sarah found him on the porch. That was good. With Lily, you're not perfect. You still drift sometimes. But you come back faster now. And that makes all the difference. Coming back faster, that was it. Not perfection, not never leaving, but noticing when you've left and choosing to return. The Stoics called it epistrophe, the turning back. The constant return. You're going to drift. That's human. The practice is the return. 3 months later, Marcus was driving Emma to soccer practice. She was 14, getting more independent. Instead of panicking about future loss, he practiced mono-no-aware. Asterisk this moment. Her in my passenger seat. It's impermanent. That's exactly why it matters. Asterisk, Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. You've been different lately. What changed? I realized I was missing my own life. I was so busy worrying about everything that could go wrong that I forgot to actually be here. I noticed. You're more relaxed. You actually listen when I talk. I'm trying. Nobody's perfect. But yeah, it's nice. Silence. Then, I'm glad you're here, Dad. Like, actually here. Marcus had to pull over. Not because something was wrong. Because he needed to feel the moment fully. I'm glad too, Em. The real prison, the real freedom, here's what Marcus learned that nobody tells you. The prison isn't your circumstances. The prison is the gap between where you are and where your mind is. When you're at dinner but mentally at work, that's a prison bar. When you're with your kids but worried about bills, that's a prison bar. You build the prison yourself, one absent moment at a time, until the present moment becomes this tiny sliver you can barely access. The Greeks called this akrasia, acting against your own better judgment. You know you should be present, but you do it anyway because the pattern runs automatically. And here's the thing, you can't think your way out. You have to practice. Every single day, the practice is the life. Coming back to yourself over and over is what it means to be alive. Marcus learned, you can't eliminate anxiety, but you can change your response to it. Every time you notice you've drifted and return, you're rewiring your brain. The goal isn't to never drift. It's to drift less far and return more quickly. Impermanence isn't something to fear, it's something to lean into. You already have the life you're looking for. You just can't see it because you're standing in the future, pre-grieving its loss. The moment that crystallized everything 8 months in, Marcus was tucking Lily in, reading about dragons. She was drowsy, halfway to sleep. His mind did its thing. Asterisk, she's growing up so fast. Soon she'll be gone, and asterisk, he caught himself. Asterisk, pause. Where am I? Asterisk, I'm here. In her room. She's right here. Right now. Asterisk, he looked at her. Really looked. Her hair on the pillow. Her stuffed rabbit. Her breathing slowing. He felt it. Not anticipatory grief, but overwhelming presence of current love. Love you, Dad, she murmured. Love you too, sweetheart. Walking out, he thought. Asterisk, I was here. I didn't miss it. Asterisk, that's freedom. Not the absence of anxiety. Not the guarantee of permanence. Just being present in your own life. 1 year later, Sunday morning. Sarah reading. Lily doing homework. Emma upstairs. Dog asleep. Marcus just there. Drinking coffee. Hearing his family. Not thinking about tomorrow. Just present in this perfectly ordinary, perfectly beautiful moment. Dad, can you help me? Sure, kid. He sat with Lily. And this time, he was fully there. Nothing dramatic. Just a man helping his daughter, on a Sunday, in the life he'd almost been too distracted to notice he had. Later, Sarah wrapped her arms around him while he did dishes. I have my husband back. He was gone for a long time, but he's back now. Marcus turned, looked at her. 15 years. Gray hairs. Lines around her eyes. She was aging. They both were. And instead of anxiety, he felt gratitude. Asterisk, this is impermanent. And that's what makes it precious. Asterisk, I'm sorry I was gone so long. You're here now? That's what matters. An ordinary Sunday. Except it wasn't ordinary. Because Marcus was finally present for it. Your life is waiting, so here's my question to you. How much of your life have you missed because you were living somewhere else? How many dinners have you attended but not tasted? How many times have your kids said, "Watch me," and you looked but didn't see? How much of your beautiful, impermanent, irreplaceable life have you wasted preparing for its ending instead of experiencing its happening? Your life is finite. Every day you spend absent is a day you don't get back. That's not meant to scare you. That's meant to wake you up. Your life, the one you already have, is waiting for you to show up for it. And the practice isn't complicated. Pause. Breathe. Return. Notice when you've left. Choose to come back. 3 seconds. Repeated forever. That's the whole teaching. The invitation. Marcus is 44 now. He still gets anxious. His mind still jumps ahead. He still has hard days. But he knows how to come back. And that's what matters. Last week, Lily said, "Dad, do you remember when you used to be stressed all the time? You're different now." Marcus thought. Was he happy? He was present. He was here, living in his life instead of observing it from behind glass. An ordinary Tuesday night. Nothing special. But Marcus was there for it. Fully there. And that's what freedom actually means. Just the simple, radical act of being present in your own life. Of loving your family because they're impermanent. Of inhabiting your moments because you'll run out of them. So let me ask you one more time. Where are you right now? Not where your mind is. Where are you actually? Because that's the only place your life is happening. If this resonated with you, if you saw yourself in Marcus's story, don't just watch and move on. Take 3 seconds right now. Close your eyes. Breathe. Practice returning. And do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Not because you'll be perfect, but because the practice of returning is the practice of living. Drop a comment if you're ready to start. Tell me, what's one moment you missed today because your mind was somewhere else? And if you want to go deeper, if you want the practical tools for training your mind to stay where your body is, I made another video about the Stoic practice of memento mori and how confronting death teaches you how to live. Link on your screen. But for now, pause. Breathe. Return. That's everything. Thank you for being here. Not just watching, but actually being here in this moment. That's the practice. And it starts now.